Hey, what's up, folks? It's Jesse with Keeping It Real Finance, the channel that always has your back and tells it like it is. Back with you for another Jasmy weekly update. Got a whole bunch of different things to cover this past week. Had some huge news on the taxation front with Japan. We also had some really big consortium news that just came out. And we're going to sum up today's video and the final thoughts by talking about that idea of the consortium, the keiretsu, and why that's so relevant to Jasmy overall. So stick around for that. So if you enjoyed today's video, as always, make sure to hit the like button. If this is your first time to the channel, make sure to subscribe. And if you click the bell, you'll be made aware whenever I post time-sensitive content just like this. And now, let's get it going. All right, check, check. Check, check. 1, 2, 1, 2, going live in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and blast off. What is up, everybody? Happy to be with you on this fabulous Friday, heading towards Christmas. Hope you're all doing well out there. Hope you're all getting together with family, etc., etc. I personally love this time of year. I've got our house decorated. My wife and I like to host dinners and things like that, having a bunch of family over. So really looking forward to all of that, having the time off, eating a lot of really good food. I am a bit of a foodie, so really looking forward to all of that and spending time with friends and family. So hope you're all doing great out there in this holiday season. Wanted to kick off the video first here, going back to December 9th. This post here, I did a post shouting out to Lil Bidman. That's where we're going to start this one. If you don't know who Lil Bidman is, he has done an absolute ton of posts on Reddit about Jasmy, tons of information on there. He is now on Twitter, so if you're on Twitter, recommend giving him a follow. You can learn a absolute wealth of information from Lil Bidman. Moving on up from there, I did post this, so what do you all think of the chart posted by Plan B? Does it signify indefinite growth, or does it level off at some point? I'm undecided. This is the whole stock to flow. And why this is relevant to Jasmy is the whole market basically rides this. And it seems like it continues to go up. However, we have been in this bit of weird cycle at the moment. So anyhow, I'm kind of undecided on what I think about it overall, but I think it probably still does hold true, maybe at a slightly different rate than what was originally in the chart. All right. Moving on up, our Jasmy Spaces call. So this last week, I was not able to attend because of a family dinner. I want to say that I think this week and the following week, I don't think we're going to be doing the calls because all of us kind of have family commitments, different things going on. And we're planning on starting these up again in January. So I did see where Scottie Pippen was asking about any good calls he should join in on. And I shouted out our Jasmy call. So, hey, maybe, who knows? Maybe we'll have one of the Chicago Bulls on there at some point. Moving on up. This was pretty funny. The Christmas gift that you always wanted. What a great image. Jasmy to the moon. I'm not sure if they put this together, but what a just awesome image. So it's a big Jasmy ornament for your tree. So thought that was pretty awesome overall. Moving on up from there. Profit's been checking the charts lately. I know he posted about a head and shoulders pattern, thinks it may be going down a little bit from here. Overall, it's riding the market as a whole, so not really a whole lot going on there. Just more buying opportunity for your DCA. All right. Moving on up. Let's see here. I always thought CBDCs, these are central bank digital currencies, would be how governments track spending a la IRS. Never considered an expiration date on money, though. 1984 vibes from China 2022. So in this article here cited from Bitcoin Magazine, they said China reveals digital yuan with expiry date where people are forced to spend and not allowed to save. So that's kind of crazy. You think about digital money, you think about whether it's Jasmy or another coin, what if it had an expiration date? What a weird idea. That's the first time I had seen that, and it looks like that's what China is going to try and do. So pretty crazy, right when you think you've got cryptocurrencies and digital currencies figured out, you see something like this, and it makes you kind of just stop a second, like scratch your head and go, huh. Well, I didn't really see it like that, but there's some pretty big implications for that in the future if we actually have expiring money. Really interesting, right? You think about things like you would get like a tax return or something like that. Even something like in cryptocurrency, if it was part of the smart contract that if you didn't do something within a certain time frame, your money expires. I mean, I don't even know how that would work. It's just kind of a wild idea. Anyway, moving on up from there. Here was my dinner the other day. I was kind of bored over the weekend, wanted to get some food pictures, and so big thanks to everybody that posted all of their food pictures. There were some absolutely just amazing pictures in this post for all the different meals that all of you are eating all over the world. So I was pretty amazed with that. Some of them looked amazing, some of them looked terrible. So kind of is what it is on that front. Moving on up, Dip Metaverse. So this is tweet number 1000 for Dip. So big shout out for tweet number 1000. Why is Tim Cook in Japan? What will he be investing in? Google launched big investment in Japan recently, and now Apple. Something might be happening. I agree. You look at all the investment that seems to be going on. Apple, Google, what was the other big one? Oh, Binance getting into the Japanese market with their acquisition. There's a lot trending here for Japan. The chip making with TSMC, moving chip making into Japan. Japan is making a hard push to be a world tech leader again. So, a lot of really bullish news has been coming out on that lately. Moving on up, let's see. SBF arrested. Yep, that was a nice little story there. Um, this picture here from Jasmy to the moon. I'm not sure where they pulled this picture from, but great photo here. And this photo really kind of sums up Jasmy right now. Let me see if I can zoom in on this a little bit. But basically, what we've got in this photo, we've got the head of Avita, we've got obviously the head of Jasmy, and then we've got Ando sitting in the middle. And I thought this was a really like symbolic photo because it really just kind of shows you Ando as the facilitator, right? Ando's kind of the guy who's been there, done that. He's sort of the potentially the deal maker in this process. I don't know. Either way, it's a really just awesome image with Avita and Jasmy and Ando in the middle, just showing this partnership of what it could be, right? So I thought that was just an awesome photo because I hadn't seen that photo. I saw the other photo that they had posted, and I'm pretty sure I shared that last week or the week before, but that was a different one. So really like that. Next, we got a post here from Jasmy US. So Jasmy collaborates with Sony in the PC design and financial sections, and that was taken from the Hara AMA with the Jasmy International Discord that Tycho led. First, Google makes a big move into Japan, then CZ Binance, then Apple, like we were just saying, right? Bullish for long-term tech outlook, as Japan is now attracting innovation rather than have it leave. Big things to come. I agree. You look at the tide turning on this, so that was pretty awesome overall. Now, this was a really big post here. Not sure if everybody caught this one that I retweeted. Essentially, the quote here is LDP PT proposal to exclude token holdings from market valuation taxation. So if an investor owns a token issued by a company, it is requested that tokens that are not for short-term trading purposes be exempted from taxation. That is absolutely massive. And so we've been talking about this for months, years, how the laws in Japan have to change to make it a pro-business environment. To date, for a crypto business in Japan, it has not been a pro-business environment. You can be taxed on unrealized gains. And why that is so critical to Jasmy, and I've explained this a few times to different people, but it's worth sharing again, is that any coin that's going to move in cryptocurrency has some sort of mechanism or something going on that um, reduces the overall supply. Okay. And so if you go all the way back to Bitcoin, for example, Bitcoin has 21 million coins. But how many Bitcoin are actually in circulation, right? So if you go back to the beginning, 1.1 million, I want to say, are held in Satoshi's wallet that have never moved. So those are out of the supply. There's rumors to be anywhere from 4 million plus that have just sort of been lost forever from those early miners, the early people that traded Bitcoin. They had it on a laptop. The laptop went in the dumpster. There's the story of I can't remember if it's a laptop or if it's a USB drive or something like that. There's a guy in England that did exactly that, threw it away. Now he thinks there could be like $300 million on there and wants to get access to the county landfill and go try and find this hard drive. I mean, just absolutely crazy. And so, anyway, the point in all of this is that when you look at coin market cap, the market cap isn't exactly what coin market cap makes it look like, right? And so, even though we know that there's 21 million Bitcoin, there's actually far less than that. From that, we also have to take away the Bitcoin that haven't been mined yet, right? And so it's far less supply. That's the way that Bitcoin becomes deflationary, becomes scarce. And so you look at other coins and what is their mechanism, right? Something like Cardano. Well, they have staking. So I've talked about this when I've compared to Cardano in the past, that over 70% of their coin was staked in that last bull run. So a significant amount was staked. So when you look at total supply, well, 70% of that supply is actually not there. Okay. When you're thinking about market caps and things like this, BNB coin has a burning mechanism. KCS has a burning mechanism. Over time, they get reduced through a smart contract that burns those excess coins. Okay, so it's deflationary, less and less. Jasmy, the way that Jasmy does it is engineered for those coins to be locked up by businesses. This is how this coin can move. If the businesses don't lock the coin, then the coin isn't going to move. It is absolutely critical that businesses lock up Jasmy coin in order for the coin to take off. Okay. Now, this taxation proposal is extremely important to that, because if I am a business and I am working with Jasmy and I am participating, I am holding coins. Well, the last thing I want to do is get taxed by the government on a coin that I am not trading. I'm simply holding it because this is how this business is engineered to run, that I have to hold a certain percentage of these coins to use their platform, right? So that's why that is so important. And with that post, they had said before that came out that they were looking at the proposal in November or December. That's exactly what happened. It came out just a few days ago. That was December 14th. In terms of when it could get approved, look for somewhere maybe first, second quarter of 2023 when it could go into effect. I would say hopefully it could go into effect somewhere towards the tail end of 2023, third or fourth quarter. Now, could it take till 2024? I don't know. To be determined. I'm not positive on that. But I do know in terms of approving legislation, typically it takes time to get the approval, to go through the necessary steps, and then it takes time for that legislation to start. And so with Jasmy, all of this is critical for moving the coin upwards. So the sooner it happens, the better for all of us. But what's really important here is that the proposal is out there and it looks like it's going to be approved by the government. So big time deal there. All right. Moving on up. Let's see here. Auntie Jasmy. Auntie Jasmy is absolutely hilarious, by the way. If you're on CT and you don't follow Auntie Jasmy, you really should. He's got just a lot of really funny posts. Almost 4 years ago today marked the end of the bear market. By March, EMAs crossed, and we had a typically volatile recovery reaching new all-time high 2 years later. It's always darkest before the dawn, but the future is bright. And in our case, orange, right? So I thought that was pretty awesome overall. Post here from CZ, excuse me. Things seem to have stabilized. Yesterday was not the highest withdrawals we processed, not even top 5. We processed more during Lunar or FTX crashes. Now deposits are coming back. Why this is worth mentioning is sometimes the crypto space is funny. Like, okay, yeah, we want the fraudsters, scammers, etc., to fizzle out, for the market to correct, for them to go away, yada yada, right? With CZ and Binance, that's not what's going on here. And when you look at everybody who's failed this past year or so, Celsius, Voyager, BlockFi, FTX, Luna, Taro, when you look at all of those, usually it comes down to a centralized person making decisions that involve high leverage. They're overextended. They have no reserves, and it's a high risk position. And then somewhere along the lines, somebody pulls that last Jenga block, and the whole thing goes, right. And that's kind of what happened there. And so, over the past couple of days, we've had a lot of talk in the crypto world about, oh, is Binance next? And Binance's whole book of business is just going to fall apart and blah, 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 right? Anybody who's saying that really hasn't followed Binance very clearly. CZ and Binance have the highest amount of reserves of anybody in the entire crypto space. Significant amount of reserves, like $60 billion plus of reserves. There's been talk of USDT Tether, right? Of, oh yeah, Tether, their Tether exposure will bring them under or whatever. No, it won't. Binance also has Binance USD, their own stablecoin, which is managed by Circle in the US and fully backed 1-to-1. The problem with Tether is not backed 1-to-1, nor has it ever been, which is why they're incapable of doing a third-party audit. BUSD, on the other hand, can easily do that. Okay, and so overall, this sort of crypto contagion that happens in the market. I think CZ had posted in one of his posts. I'm not sure if it may not be that one. He posted in one of them where he said, even with all of the contagion and the withdrawals that have happened, it was only about 2% of their overall business on Binance in particular. Okay, so that really wouldn't impact you. Also, Binance has various other versions of Binance depending on where you're at around the world and your country's laws. So like here in the US, we have Binance US. Now, Binance US is an independent company from Binance, the worldwide version. This is why, when you look at FTX, Sam Bankman-Fried said all along, well, FTX US should be fine because it's a separate company, right? But it's not fine because of basically their balance sheet didn't add up. And they borrowed from Peter to pay Paul between FTX US, FTX, the world version, and then Alameda, and had everything resting on their own coin, FTT, right? So that's where all the value was held, in their own coin, and that's why the whole thing fell apart. We'll talk a little bit more about that in a second. But overall, what I was getting at here was that Binance is fine. Okay, Binance is not going to fold up or go on under anytime soon. Same thing with Coinbase. Coinbase is fine. By all accounts, it looks like KuCoin's fine. There's a bunch of other ones that are absolutely fine. And, maybe a bit of a learning lesson for some of the smaller ones that are trying to grow after seeing what's happened with all the other bankruptcies that have occurred. So anyhow, more to come on that topic. I thought this was really funny. So this was Auntie Jasmy saying that when KIR Finance retweets and it means there's a chance I might get a shout out in the weekly update video. I'm kind of a big deal. Hey, it's true. You're true. It's 100% true. You're right. So anyway, yes, if I retweet one of your posts, most likely you're going to make it into this video. So thought that was really funny. um, so here we go back to this whole SBF thing. I don't know if any of you have followed this with Kevin O'Leary, Mr. Wonderful, aka Shark Tank, talking about this, and he had this testimony in front of the U.S. Congress where he sort of, rambled on and on and on, pointed the finger at Binance for making this whole thing happen, with just completely ignoring the 8 counts of fraud that Sam is facing and that Sam's been arrested and all these other things. And the ironic piece of all of this is that Kevin apparently was paid somewhere. I've seen reports of 15 million. I think I saw one the other day of 18 million that he was supposedly paid by FTX to become a spokesperson. So really what he lost here was the money that he was paid by them. And the ironic thing in all of this was that at the end of it, he had this particular line where after all of his sort of rambling in this post, he says, maybe I want a Madoff clawback on those proceeds. And what's just funny about this is that really, if you look at what CZ did in Binance, they dumped FTT token. When they dumped it, it tanked FTX. The whole thing went bankrupt, right? Is there any reason why he's not allowed to do that in a world market? I don't think so. I think that's completely legal. Really, he's no different than any other whale that just goes out and dumps a coin, and then there's a wave that follows it, right? Now, the downside about all that is obviously the people who are impacted that used FTX. But in terms of legality, and in terms of somebody like Mr. Wonderful getting his millions back from CZ selling his coins, I don't see where there's any legality in that whatsoever. So I'm not really sure why KO is out there saying all these things. I mean, I get it that he lost a chunk of money, but he should have significantly more than that. So I don't know, more to come on that topic. So, as the world turns, right? Moving on up here. So this post was from Houston. So on December 15th, the LDP, the Digital Society Promotion Headquarters Web3 project team in Japan, PT chair Masaki Tera, compiled the interim proposals for Web3 policies. And this kind of tacks on to that earlier post that I had about changing the laws. Tax reform that does not hinder fundraising with tokens, review of income taxation on crypto assets owned by individuals, securing opportunities for financial audits of companies issuing crypto assets. Basically, there's quite a few things on this list here, but what's important is that they have a committee that's working on this. They're putting those proposals forward. By all accounts, it looks like they're on the verge of changing these laws significantly for the better, and that will impact Jasmy as well as any other coin that starts out in Japan, or some of these projects that have left Japan. Okay. All right. Had a Hara sighting. This was last night. I saw a tweet from Hara that the application period for the Jasmy Find Happiness Project Phase 3 is in 5 days. So that's coming right around the corner. So post from Hara on that. Back to Jasmy US, hit 7,000 followers on Twitter. So that was quite the accomplishment. My account, I think I'm over 4,000 somewhere. My YouTube is 21,000 something. But Jasmy US hitting 7,000 followers. So really awesome. Jasmy US has a lot of really good posts, and he does a really excellent job leading our Jasmy Spaces call. So if you're not following Jasmy US, definitely give him a follow if you're on CT. Now, this post here from Zippy, I'm going to talk. Why don't I talk right here, and then we'll go to that. So before we get to Zippy's post, these posts basically go together. So this was a post from Simon Greco regarding the Natural Capital Credit Consortium. So Jasmy confirms participation. So per that article, they said using ICT to calculate the amount of CO2 absorption. This all has to do with carbon credits, by the way. So this is like a green initiative. We aim to improve the efficiency of the certification process, shorten the time required for crediting, and lower the price. So that just came out, and I don't even think Hara has posted about that yet. And so Zippy did a translation here. I think this must be with Google Lens that he did on it. And it says participating companies, organizations. So 33 companies, and get this, 9 local governments. Now, we've talked a lot in the past about Jasmy, how they are tied into government in Japan. And this is yet another example of that. And so Zippy put an arrow here right on Jasmy Co. So that's pretty awesome. You know, we've got some banks here. You got a gas company, construction. Here's another bank, electric power company. Basically, a lot of the people that you would think would be involved with something like carbon credits. You've also got SoftBank that's in here, massive company. Here's one, Tokyo Gas Company. Moving on, right? And then over here to the side, we've got all of these different governments who are also going to be participating in this process. And so why I really wanted to highlight this was the idea of the consortium, the Keiretsu. I want to talk about that more in today's final thoughts, because we probably don't talk about that enough. But that's also a really big part of the Jasmy project, the idea of the consortium, or aka Keiretsu. That's the Japanese term for it. So we're going to be talking about that in a minute. But here we are with just another huge one. And even, you know, down here, I thought this was pretty cool. Japan Aerospace Exploration, JAXA. So that was really awesome. So with that, we're going to wrap everything up in today's video with some final thoughts. If you're enjoying today's video, don't forget to visit our Patreon page at patreon.com/KIR Finance. Your support means everything. Now, let's get back to the video. All right, so in today's final thoughts, I really wanted to just kind of go down the rabbit hole a little bit and talk about the consortium idea, right? So in Japan, they have a term for this. They refer to it as a Keiretsu. And it's basically where you've got, like, let's say 3 or more companies that kind of participate together for an overall goal. Now, this past week, we had this latest consortium announced that's surrounding carbon credits, right? It's a green initiative for the country of Japan. Within that consortium, there was like 20 companies plus, there's 9 governments, and who's in there? Jasmy, okay? So this is extremely relevant because you look at all these companies that, again, you know, it's just a spiderweb effect of everybody that they're connected to, and then you look at the governments also. And that is a huge deal. So if Jasmy can show that they can use their technology for a government project to manage it, to make it more efficient, to streamline it, to capture data, to decrease cost, all these things that a government is looking at, then it's really a no-brainer, especially when you think about the security also, the decentralization, right? And Japan has Jasmy as a homegrown project, so it's something that they can trust. Trust matters, okay? And so overall with Consortium Keiretsu, this is a theme with Jasmy that goes all the way back to the very beginning. I've highlighted this a few times that you look at their partnership with Transcosmos in particular. Transcosmos is a billion-dollar global company, all right? They are a contact/call center. They exist all over the planet. They have numerous locations all over the place, right? How on earth does a startup like Jasmy get involved with a partnership with a billion-dollar company? And, you know, that's where it kind of comes back, this idea of the Keiretsu, the bigger picture, right? Jasmy has also been tied directly to Bitpoint, the exchange. Bitpoint is tied to Remix Point. Remix Point is tied to SBI. SBI is a massive company, and again, the spider web just kind of keeps going. There's numerous examples of this when you look back through Jasmy and you look at all of their different partners that they've had, the idea of the consortium or the Keiretsu. Even if you look at Transcosmos and the technology there with Secure PC, they were rumored to have a partnership early on with Line. Line, I'm not sure if that was ever a direct partnership or if it was basically an indirect partnership through Consortium, okay? And so there's just very wide implications for this. And so, when you look at other countries around the world, I'm not sure they all operate like this. Like here in the US, for example, there probably are some examples of consortiums. There's probably more than I'm aware of. But you really don't see it in a private company, especially on the tech side, where they operate in these consortiums the way that they do in Japan. And so even I want to say, I think it was Lil Bidman posted a video this past week of the head of Intel Japan talking about Jasmy. So, we've connected them in the past to some massive companies, Intel, Apple, Sony, right? The list kind of goes on. Transcosmos, massive company. And it all comes back to that consortium Keiretsu idea that they're working towards a common goal, potentially directed by the government is kind of where it comes into play, right? And so in this latest consortium, you have local governments, but then this also has the appearance of being like a federal government, a country government initiative, okay? So when you think about who knows about Jasmy and who's wanting to see this technology in play, I've said all along that I think that a lot of Jasmy is potentially comes from a government board or boards, the rough idea of it, the proposal of it. I've felt all along that Ando was kind of tasked with carrying this out. Even when you looked at that recent picture with Avita and with Sato there with Jasmy, Ando's in the middle, right? He really is a facilitator. Ando also is, the head of Nagano University, right? So the school system. And you look at all of their college connections, again, going back to that whole consortium Keiretsu. Something else that's worth mentioning as well is that this carbon credit management idea really is a whole new use case, right? We had no concept of this being a use case, and then lo and behold, it's announced, and it's absolutely huge. And so overall, as always, the partnerships with Jasmy have always been extremely impressive. And I think it comes back to the street cred of the team at Jasmy, in particular Ando. And it goes back to Ando's connections, how this company that's a startup could get involved in so many different areas with companies, big, small, governments, big, small. They're involved in just so much across the board. They've also always had this eye on global expansion, being a global company. Typically, a startup doesn't start up and say, yeah, we're going global, right? They kind of have to, master their own environment first. And so the Keiretsu that happens with Japan, with these companies working together, is just really, I think it's very unique to Japan in particular. And it really gives Jasmy a leg up. I've said a lot of times that Jasmy is a big idea, that if I tried to start Jasmy here at my house, it would absolutely fail because I don't have anywhere near the connections, right? I also live in a completely different country that's ran completely different, okay? But when you look at Jasmy, you look at Ando's influence, you cannot undercut how important that is in terms of Ando's corporate background, his experience in the U.S., his experience as a government advisor with Taiwan, his experience in various government boards across Japan. You cannot undercut the value of that. And that is why our little startup here, Jasmy, is tied into so many things. So that's very interesting. Now, there were a couple other things I was going to mention in the video earlier that I realized that I skipped them, not on purpose. One thing that I did catch was that I know we're somewhere around, I think, 40,800-ish holders. So our holder number is still going up significantly. It's kind of looking like we're going to pass 41,000. We may even get to 42,000 by the end of the year. So that's over what we originally projected. So that's absolutely awesome. The other thing was I had somebody reach out to me earlier in the week that took some screenshots. I'm not sure which platform they were on, but they managed to capture numerous Jasmy buys that were 270 tokens. And I thought that was very interesting. And this particular person was asking me what I thought about it. And when you look at the value of 270 Jasmy tokens versus the price, that's very nominal, very small overall. So my hunch, and this pure speculation here, I could be absolutely wrong, but my hunch is this could be tied back to something such as the fan token, which could mean that things are moving here within the Jasmy ecosystem. Now, I've been checking jasmy.global, and they haven't really updated that yet. So could there be more updates coming there? Definitely. I think a lot of us are keeping an eye on that for the active users. We want to see this thing go active. Give me some active user numbers. Those are the kinds of things I really want to start seeing from the team. So hopefully that's coming around the corner. But that was a really great observation of all of these buys that were happening. And they were happening, I think he said, roughly about every 3 minutes, there would be a buy of 270 Jasmy tokens. So why the average person would buy 270 tokens every 3 minutes makes no sense whatsoever. So it appeared to be something that was being done by smart contract, which could then tie back possibly to something like the fan token or fun token. So either way, overall, pretty interesting week overall in crypto, never a dull moment. In terms of the chart right now, it's just sort of, it's flatlined. It is what it is. There's not a whole lot we can do about that. That's just going to take time. But in terms of the team making progress, big announcements this past week at a time when, again, you kind of enter the week and you go, well, I don't know what's going to happen this week. I don't know if we have a whole lot to go on. Even Haro was pretty quiet overall. And then we get these huge kind of, nuggets that come at us. The tax proposal fix is absolutely massive. That's critical to this whole thing. If that doesn't happen, then Jasmy's in trouble, because why on earth would businesses hold this if they're going to be taxed on unrealized gains? And to be fair, when you look at the reason why they're holding it, they're not holding it because they're a trader. That's not the purpose here. That's not the intended purpose. That's not the intent. The intent is to hold it and participate in this ecosystem, right? Platinum data. That's the intent. And if Japan wants to have a tier 1 tech company, then they need to make these things happen. And the only way that's going to happen, as I've said before, is with strong government support. And it looks like they've got that by all accounts, especially with the latest consortium announcement. So that's it for today's video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, make sure to hit the like button. Don't forget that I'm also on Twitter at KIR Finance. I've now got a blue check, so I am verified. So if you got anybody who's talking to you that's KIR Finance and they don't have a blue check, well, that's not me, all right? So I've now got a blue check. I am verified. That is me. If you send me a message, I'll be happy to answer any questions you've got. Typically, I do not message anybody, so if you get anybody messaging you that appears to be me, that's not me, all right? And so, lastly, as always, this is Jesse with Keeping It Real Finance, the channel that always has your back, tells it like it is, and I will see you on the next one. Later.